Hi, everyone, and welcome to Behind the Mask. This is where we sit down with the people who are shaping the future of surgical and clinical care. So it's not just about the technology, but it's about the teams, the systems, and the partnerships that make everything work behind the scenes. In this episode, we're talking about why hands-on clinical experience matters more than ever, especially when it comes to supporting departments through digital change. I'm joined by my colleagues, Wayne and Shane, who between them bring decades of real-world decontamination experience across Ireland and the UK. Before moving into customer success at Athera, they were on the floor dealing with the pressures, constraints, and responsibilities that come with running safe, compliant decontamination services. Today, they use experience to support teams from the tech side, helping departments adopt digital solutions that actually work in practice. And they know because they've been there. We'll be talking about what great customer success really looks like when the people providing it genuinely get it. So let's get into it. Welcome, Wayne and Shane. Do you want to start by introducing yourselves and telling us a bit about your backgrounds in decon?
Great to be here. Thanks, Megan. So Shane Corbett is my name. I have about 15 years experience in decontamination. I started my decontamination in Temple Street, Pediatric Children's Hospital. I did about 10 years there, and then I worked in Wexford General Hospital. So I suppose I was lucky enough over both sites to go through two fingerprint implementations, and I gained an awful lot of experience through those.
Nice. How about yourself, Wayne?
Yeah, so my name's Wayne Davey. I'm the CSM for the UK. So my background is decontamination. So I've done that for 17 years. I served my whole time with one board, so it was NHS Borders. So it was based out in the community. So it was mainly sort of dental, sexual health, podiatry, that sort of thing. Same idea, just on a smaller scale to what Shane's used to. So I worked up from technician up to senior management within NHS Borders. So I had many hats. I was waste manager, I was water safety manager, I was quality manager. So yeah, I've got quite a bit of experience doing lots of different things. So yeah.
We were saying before this started, like you've got what 30 plus
32
years.
32 years between us.
Yeah. Why would you say that hands-on experience in decon is valuable now that you're supporting customers from the technology side of things?
I suppose from my experience, definitely having gone through, say, two implementations with fingerprint, seeing the difference between manual systems and electronic traceability, it gives you great insight into what the system actually does. You know, it's providing you with an electronic record of every action that takes place within your department. And it's the importance then for say, the CSM role is to translate that from the technical and communicate between the technical people and the people on the ground.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. It's about having that understanding. So we know the process fairly well, I would like to say, between us. So yeah, it is having that ability to be able to communicate between them, and also understanding what the customers are going through. It's understanding that and explaining that to the customers, that we do it.
Yeah, I don't know, Wayne, I suppose often I say part of the role is kind of translating English into English. So you get the kind of the technical English or the technical language that comes from the tech side, and you get the more practical language, the more process-driven side that comes from the customers that you're dealing with. And it's just sometimes to translate from one to the other is.
Yeah, we get the screenshots of error messages that come up on the desktops, and I don't know what they mean. I'm like, let's get your tech team and our tech team to talk, because it's just jargon to me. But yeah, it's a lot of the smaller issues. Yeah, is about explaining it in simple terms to everyone. So
with what you're saying about the challenges, are there any specific challenges other than like translating English to English that you would say you only truly understand having worked in decon?
Yeah, there can be, I suppose, prioritizing what the issues are, and it can be often hard for a person behind a service desk to understand that something that may seem trivial is actually very important. I suppose one of the things in sterile services that's important is the flow, of how things move through a department, move from on our system module to module, but in reality through the department from dirty to clean, and any interruption to the flow, however minor it may seem, can have a huge effect on the day-to-day of a department.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the pressures in the unit. So, these sometimes they're extremely busy. And the concentration required to do that job, especially in the pack room, well, in all the rooms, but you're concentrating so hard. If the system's not performing how you need it to, then it can impact so much. And like Shane said, the smallest little thing can cause such a big issue. So it is about us being able to translate that across to the support team and say, look, it might sound small, but this is massive for them. So can we prioritize it? And yeah.
What made you decide to move from sort of the clinical side of things to customer success?
So for me, obviously I've been there 17 years. I kind of felt like I'd peaked where I was, unless I wanted to go and do a master's in management or something which I didn't really fancy doing or being able to fund at the time. So the opportunity came up through conversation for me, this job, and I was like, oh, I'll have a chat and see. And then upon speaking to Mark and hearing about what the job was going to entail, I was like, actually, yeah, I think I could do that. I didn't feel like I was ready to leave decontamination. I think it's one of them jobs that once you're in, you're kind of in. I still feel like I'm doing my bit for patient safety and but obviously in a totally different sector now. But it's really good. It's been a good move.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, echoing what Wayne said, I suppose in Ireland in particular, the decontamination community is small enough, and everybody kind of knows everybody and who they are and where they work, and there isn't a massive turnover of staff, or there isn't a massive amount of people leaving to move into a different sector. So I suppose there was the opportunity to do something new, but to stay within the decontamination. I suppose over years, having talked to people on the support desk, knowing them, I suppose one of the people I knew well was Alex, and Alex did the implementation in Wexford with us, and he was so good to work for, so good to work with, should I say, and it was an appealing opportunity when it appeared. Similar to Wayne, I thought, yeah, I could do that. I think I'd like that, and so far it has been. I found it very rewarding.
Is there anything that surprised you when you moved from clinical to more of the tech side?
I think for me, it's hard to sort of make a comparison because they're two very different. Like it's not the difference between going from clinical to technical. It's going from public sector to private sector. There's been the biggest change for me. So previously there was several levels of management. You wanted to do something, you'd have to ask this, write this paperwork, do this and do this. Now it's Mark, can we do this, please? Yeah, that makes sense. Let's do it. Let's try it. It's so different for me. And I wouldn't say micromanagement in my old job, but you had to get permission to do certain things. Now there's a lot more autonomy for me. So that's been the biggest change for me.
I suppose for myself, one of the biggest things was even switching to some like remote working, where you're used to going in, meeting people every day. Obviously, it was the same people every day, but you build those relationships, and you know a lot about each other and that. So any change of job is a big thing that way, getting to know new people. But probably more of a challenge getting to know them remotely than meeting them in person. But you get to the stage now where it's the opposite way around. You talk to people every day and you realize, well, actually, somebody said, I haven't seen you or I haven't met you for 6 months in person, but you actually forget that. It becomes the new norm, if you like. So that probably was the biggest change for me.
Is there something, because we talked before about how your experience has helped with going into this role. Are there any specific examples that you have where, you moved from clinical to this, and you felt like, oh, this is my experience in such and such has really helped with this particular customer?
I suppose part of the CSM, there's a lot of that where you learn, you bring what you know yourself from your previous job, but you also learn from other customers and bring from one to the other. I suppose one of the unique things, or one of the unusual things, was I don't know, was I the first person to work for Fingerprint as it was, and then Atira, who actually had used the software in a live setting, if you like. So as much as what I learned from my previous job was able to help customers, it was also felt it was helpful to the team here. And then obviously Wayne came on board. It was great to have somebody else because we could compare experiences.
Mhm. Yeah, that's so I was going to say something similar. That's been the biggest bit, is we do get asked quite a lot. Does this, like, explain this part of the process to us, like, why is this such a big issue? And then once we explain it then realized, oh, actually, yeah, it is quite a big thing. And also development of new products. We're involved with that one quite a lot as well. Obviously, what do we want to see as users, that sort of thing. So yeah, we are being used for that purpose, yeah, which is great. It's really good that they're doing that.
That's cool. It's interesting that it's helped. You're saying that it's helped more on the company side of things than as well as customers. That's really cool.
Mhm.
What could you walk us through what customer success actually looks like? What's your day to day, and what sort of processes do you go through to help customers?
One of the things when we started, there wasn't a customer success function, so it did take a while to evolve it. But really, it's contact with the customers, it's checking on tickets, it's planning your visits, it's all those all that kind of things. Plus your involvement with the support team, involvement with the project team. I think we're in a unique kind of position within the company where we tend to interact with all teams within the company. Um, so yeah, a lot of the work is planning. A lot of it is keeping up with developments in both internally, externally, knowing what issues your customer has, and then kind of reacting according, providing the support to the customer and to the support team to try and get issues sorted in as timely a manner as possible, really. Um, there isn't a typical day. That is the other thing with the CSM function. I'm sure Wayne would agree with that one.
Yeah.
As much as you have plans, issues may come up and you get involved, you wade in, it's roll up the sleeves time to get things right for the customer. Ultimately, that's what you'd like to see.
Yeah, my day is much the same. Yeah, meetings with customers, or then writing up the actions from the meetings with customers, organizing new meetings, planning new visits, that sort of thing. We obviously get involved with the upgrade processes as well, so going on site and doing knowledge transfer sessions with customers, and then being on site for the support team and for the customers on go lives. That's a really really good part of the job that I enjoy doing, that part. When I first started, I wasn't sure how I would be doing that because I'd never delivered training to people before, apart from, like, small members of groups of staff within my department. But I knew them; it was different. Whereas coming to Athera and delivering the training, yeah, it's a new one, but it's something I've come to enjoy doing that.
Yeah, and on the training, Wayne, I found it's a great way to get engagement with people.
Definitely.
Yeah,
Mm.
particularly I found getting engagement with theatre staff, which can be difficult given how busy an environment theatre is, that they actually put aside time. So you have 10, 15 minutes, maybe half an hour of their total attention. And it has been really good, really rewarding to actually, interact and get their impressions of the system. And I suppose one of the things maybe is get them to utilize it to its fullest extent.
Yeah, yeah. Something I've found myself doing more so now is researching new equipment that's coming out as well. previously I never had the time to do that, and I would only, I've heard of something, and I would look it up. But now, I'm looking. I had a meet with a customer the other day. They're going to be getting a demo of a new piece of kit, so they've tried to explain it to me. So I then went away to research what it does and how our system can support that. So that's something that's quite good as well. Kind of keeps your finger on the pulse with everything that's happening.
That's really nice to hear. Do you have a specific way that you interact with, say, a new trust that has come on board with us compared to someone who's been with us for a long time?
What I tend to do is have, like, every 3 months I'll catch up with the customer, but I would probably meet them more frequently, just so that we've got that touch point, because the training that we deliver, it's a lot to take in. There's no way they're going to remember everything. So it would be about giving them that opportunity to ask questions, and for me to then ask them questions. Or are you doing it this way? Are you doing it that way? And showing them easier ways of doing things if there is one.
Yeah, for a new customer, definitely it is that extra contact, that extra support. It's things like going on site if necessary. What we're doing a lot more with new customers is really having emphasis on the discovery. And I suppose what we strive to do with our system anyway is ensure that we're recording the process, accurately and in a way that suits the customer. So yeah, it's that extra attention for new customer. It's things like you want to build the levels of trust. You want to give them that extra attention that they know that you're there for them. And that's the CSM's function, is to know you're as much a tier of CSM, but you're also the customer CSM. To kind of bridge that gap between the two. Again, things like language and technical language that you're ensuring they understand exactly what's meant. We're always conscious of jargon and acronyms, and they're all over the place in healthcare, and some of the ones in healthcare might overlap with some of the technical ones, and we just make sure we're all on the same page all the time. So yeah, it is a new customer, demands the extra time. But like, it's, I suppose, having been involved in a couple of projects with new customers, to see them through from start to finish, quite rewarding. It's something I suppose I've always found in working life, to see something from start to finish, be involved from the very start to the very finish of it. And I suppose I had one customer this week. I went back to do a CSM visit. That they were a new implementation last year, and to see how well they're getting on with the system it is it always feels good. Then you feel like you've done a good job at that stage.
It'll be a different experience because you guys have done that yourself in your time, so you're seeing it from the other side now.
Yeah.
Is there a specific sort of challenge that you've come across with a customer that you know the answer to, having had that exact same experience before yourselves?
I think not so much for me. There's been a few things that customers have fed back to me, which I experienced as a customer, that I've then been able to go back to the development team and say, look, this is something that we've got a couple of things that we've suggested that are now currently in test in the latest version. So I'm looking forward to being able to tell the customers we've done it, we've got that feature in now. So but yeah, apart from that, there's not really been any sort of massive challenges. But like I say, I'm fairly new with the company. I'm sure Shane will probably have a couple of examples.
Yeah, I suppose one of the challenges people have, and particularly newer customers, is reporting, because the power of the system is in the data that we're recording all the time, and it's just sometimes getting that data out. I suppose when I worked in Temple Street, we did quite a lot of work on ISO 13485. So, doing reports for those audits and things like that, you got great experience in using the reporting system of Fingerprint to get out the reports you actually wanted. So, I definitely feel I've been able to use that to help a customer. Things like building business cases for new instruments, or even just their general yearly reports to their line manager. And I suppose you feel good, the customer feels good, they're presenting the reports to their line manager exact wants, and helping them to do that. Then that's been one of the things I found, particularly new customers, but again, even with people who've been using it for a while, to find them ways to get the information out of the system that they need.
Nice. You both cover different territories. So Wayne, you're the UK and Shane Ireland. So do you find that there's sort of unique challenges to those territories?
I think another thing we have is because the HSEs manage centrally IT wise, I think that kind of helps things a little bit. You agree with that one, Shane, like for your upgrades and stuff?
Yeah, it definitely does. I suppose there's a distinction in some of the sites, and the HSE and the voluntary sites have their own IT on site and others don't. But we work quite closely with the ClinApps tech and transformation team in the HSE, and they manage a lot of that. So that relationship is also important as, you know, keeping the good relationship with the customer. But we've been working quite successfully with them on the current upgrade project.
With that, healthcare is a very busy industry. So how do you stay in touch with your customers? I know Wayne said you see them every 3 months, but is there
Yeah,
between them?
so I tend to try and meet with the customers every 3 months. We tend to have, well, I say every 3 months. I've only been here for 7, so it's only been a chance to have a couple of meetings. But yeah, my plan is to have quarterly meetings with customers and once a year go on site, to have that opportunity to go on. I love to go in and speak to the technicians as well, rather than just the managers, because the managers have different requirements to the system than the technicians do. You know, they're seeing other things because they're using it on the floor, so it makes a different conversation. Obviously, we've got email. Customers reach out all the time on email. They've all got my mobile number, so you know I'm always available. So yeah, when I can, I'll just speak to them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's similar here. Obviously, given the geography, the hope would be to have actually 2 on-site visits a year, if at all, if possible. Again, it's email, it's Teams, it's phone calls. I suppose that's one of the marks of how you're doing it, if the customer trusts you enough to be the first person to ring when they have an inquiry, as
Yeah.
opposed to, yeah, obviously they'll go to help desk for their technical requirements. But if they want to ask you a question about the industry or about reporting or about something in general, it's kind of, you feel good that you're the one that they rang, you know. So it's always try to answer the phone. Obviously, given meetings and everything, you can't always do it. But yeah, it's important to let the customer know you're there for them as much as possible. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Would you say, why would you say that health tech companies having people like you is so important? People with hands-on experience.
I suppose we realise things in importance. One of the things Wayne said earlier, doing this bit for patient safety. I mean, I suppose when I started in sterile services, that is drummed into you from the beginning of when you start working in sterile services. Patient safety is the ultimate aim. You know, again, it can be easy to forget that if you're behind the desk in a tech company, not necessarily from the healthcare service or from the healthcare industry at all. So I suppose that's number one of what we're trying to do. We're providing patient safety. It's also the understanding, the other thing Wayne said earlier, of what people are doing on a daily basis. Things like the concentration levels involved in checking sets, in doing, you know, in packing sets, making sure everything is there, making, you know, it does take a lot to do that. It can be quite a mentally challenging at times if you're quite busy and quite acute or complicated surgeries and loan instruments you may not have see that often, not that familiar with. So it's understanding all of that. I think that's the biggest thing. Having that industry experience and coming from the non-tech side over to the tech side, I think that's the biggest thing that stands to us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So my introduction with customers is always, my name's Wayne Davey. I've got 17 years. Tell them my background and everything. So when I tell them I've got the experience, they always they feel like it's almost like they relax a bit because they know that you're there, you know what they've been through. I actually had one customer shook my hand once when I was doing the training and gave my introduction, shook my hand, and she was like, "Well done for doing 17 years," and then followed it up with, "But well done for getting out." So, but no, it was good to get that. But yeah, it kind of lets them know that you've got that experience, so they can ask questions. So if you're not just anybody that just knows the product, you know what they're experiencing too.
What would you say to trusts and who want to adopt a digital solution but are worried that the company doesn't really get it?
We get it. We definitely get it. I know when they recruited me, I assume it'll be the same for Shane. They specifically looked for somebody within decontamination. So they wanted someone with that experience. So I was told that we can teach you how to be a CSM, but we can't teach that experience. So that was the main reason. So they specifically picked people with the experience because they want the customers to know that they get it. They know that that was something that we fell short on within the company, was actually that hands-on experience. So now they've got 32 years of experience within the company. So it's definitely proven its worth.
Yeah, and even I suppose from my own experience of dealing with fingerprint staff and over support and help desks over the year, they do get it. It's easy for me to say we are translating, we're helping translate. I've experienced it myself looking at tickets and where the person replying on the ticket understands exactly the challenges that there is a lot of experience in the company. We have a lot of people at senior management levels who have also worked in the healthcare sector also. So yeah, I think I wouldn't have any doubt that we get it at all. We understand the challenges that are out there in healthcare.
So where do you see the future of decontamination services heading?
It's a big question.
It is a big question.
It's always evolving. So there's one thing for sure, and I don't know when it will happen or how it will happen, but I'm pretty sure that AI will be coming into it at some point. Like it's inevitable that AI is coming in. They'll never be able to replace the technicians or any of that part of the process. But when I was at the IDSC, I was speaking to somebody else in trade, and they were saying that there's development ongoing for AI detection of debris on instruments. So they're using cameras like high definition cameras to look at the instruments, and it can pick up tiny little bits of bone that technicians are missing or that the machines are missing. So that is a potential that could happen, but it's AI, isn't it? So I'm not sure where I feel about that one just now, but I'll wait to see. But yeah, I think that's the future.
Yeah, it's constantly evolving. I suppose one of the things I remember starting way back when was, low temperature sterilization at the time was going to be the next big thing. And it took a long time for low temperature sterilization to actually be the next big thing, but now it's getting very prevalent around the hospitals. Endoscopy is another sector where there's huge changes all the time, constantly evolving, new machines coming onto the market. And I imagine actually it's quite challenging for endoscopy managers sometimes to pick which system they're going to use for things like vacuum packing or things like that, because there is so much competition out there. But again, it's interesting to keep, try and keep your finger on the pulse and know what's coming and know what's important to managers. I just learned from a customer yesterday about a new robotic system starting in Ireland. So, again, it's constantly happening. So it's up to us to keep up with it and see how we can help, how our system can help record whatever process you want to put in place, basically.
Yeah,
that's it.
Do you think that there'll be more collaboration between departments in the future? Because right now everything's quite siloed still. Do you think that with how tech is going, how our solutions are, there'll be that collaboration between like theatres and decon and places like that?
I suppose that is the ultimate of every hospital wants to have that more collaboration. And they do collaborate. Obviously, it can always be better. It can always be improved. I think within a hospital, I suppose to give my own experience of working in Temple Street and working in the paediatric hospital, there was quite an ethos to how the hospital runs and how it's expected to run, given that what you're dealing with pediatric patients and parents who are probably experiencing some of the worst times of their life. That it's never to lose that focus that ultimately it's the patient. So if collaboration is the way to go to get the better patient result, you're constantly hospitals are constantly, our trusts are constantly striving for that anyway. So I suppose anyway we can help as regards things like reporting and things like that that can travel between departments and make that communication between departments easier. I suppose that's where we'd like to be able to assist people with that.
So looking back at your time, either at Athera or in your time in Decon, is there something that you're most proud of?
So for me, my biggest achievement that I had was achieving our ISO 13485 accreditation. That was many hours of late nights, many hours of lost sleep. It was the most stressful experience I've had out with having children in my house. It was crazy, and I have the most what's the word I'm looking for? It's got out of my head now, but I just feel that it's one of the biggest things in a department, and it's like it was the biggest achievement I had. That day that I got my accreditation, I just finished early that day. I went home. I was like, I'm done. That's me. You've had enough out of me. It was great. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I did a bit of work on ISO 13485, and I give Grain all the credit in the world because it's a massive thing. I suppose sometimes I like to celebrate the small victories myself. I suppose one of the one of the toughest, but one of the best things I can remember, Christmas Eve in Temple Street, and on my own in the department, and processing a transplant, which was about 8 massive sets of instruments, and getting them turned over just for the just in case, preparing for the worst scenario. And thankfully they weren't ever needed, but having them done, having them stay in that extra 4 hours as it took on Christmas Eve, but you knew why you were doing it, and having them done and having them ready there in case of emergency. It really felt good. And that's something that's stuck with me. That was relatively early in my career that I'll remember that. People, why would you stay late? And you asking why would you not stay late in that situation? So that's one of my favorite memories from decontamination, was being able to do it, but actually getting it done. And thankfully it was never needed, which was even better. The end of it.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, thank you for sharing. Really lovely stories. So I guess the last sort of thing is, what's your hope for our customers working with yourselves at Athera?
Personal point of view, and it's something I suppose we emphasized at the start, you'd like to become a trusted source for the customer. I suppose I said it earlier, you'd like the customer to feel that as much as you work for Athera, you're also their CSM, that you're there for them as much as working for the other company. So that's where I would love to get to that stage. I'm definitely not at that stage yet, but we'll continue to work on it, continue to build the relationships, and I think we can get there.
Yeah, it is about building those relationships. Ideally, my plan is for customers that when we have our 3 monthly chat, it's not really about the system, because everything's great. They have no problems with it. They love the system, and we just talk about holidays or whatever. But that's a wee way off yet, I think.
And is there anything before we go that you want to say that you've missed, or you just want customers to know?
No, I suppose it's something that I've said internally here a few times about, I do feel we have a great support team. I think they are excellent. And lately, somebody came back to me with a specific, praise for one of the members of our support team. And I always feel that when I'm on site and I'm dealing with a customer, I have instant access to the support team, and they're so helpful. And it really was good to hear a customer come back to specifically tell you they kind of felt the same as you did. So, it's just if I wanted customers to know that while you're meeting the CSM and we might be the face, there is a big support team in the background there to try and keep all the cogs turning and keep everything moving.
Yeah, they're like the unsung heroes within the company.
Yes, definitely. Oh, all right. I think that's a wrap then. So I just want to say thank you to you both for joining today. It's been a really interesting, insightful conversation and some lovely stories from your time in Decon as well. And I'm glad that you're able to share your experience and how that's helping to shape your roles at Athera. So if this conversation resonated with you, then make sure you subscribe and follow along. We've got plenty more episodes coming up with people who are helping to shape clinical excellence, often in ways that you don't see every day like this. If you'd like to feature on the show, just let us know and we'll be in touch. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you next time on Behind the Mask.